We all know as a practice owner, one of the last things you want to think about is tax planning and strategizing for your practice. In addition, the long list of tasks on your radar, it's really hard to do everything. You have to find a trustworthy team of experts that understands the unique and specific needs within veterinary medicine. My suggestion would be my friends at Granite Peak Associates. Granite Peak is an advanced tax planning and veterinary practice advisory firm who has spent many years working within vet med. Their team works year-round to make sure you're able to maximize your profitability while also minimizing your liabilities. Whether you're in the process of purchasing a practice, looking to grow your practice, or transitioning towards the sale of your practice, they are the experts to help guide you through. What makes them different than other firms is their devotion to proactive tax planning. By thinking into the future and creating long-lasting relationships with their clients, Granite Peak can help minimize the amount of taxes paid over the course of many years to come. Head over to their website, granitepeakcpa.com, to receive a personalized comparison of your practice financials against over 140 other hospitals that they've worked with. You'll be able to see how your practice ranks, where you stack up, and where the opportunities are to get better. From there, you can schedule a one-on-one call with one of the members of their team to review and analyze your results. The opportunity speaks for itself. You need someone on your side. Granite Peak Associates is that team. Take advantage of their innovative expertise within the veterinary industry. Discover the nation's fastest growing practice management software. Who, you might ask? It's my friends at Shepherd Veterinary Software. Founded by a practicing veterinarian, Shepherd is easy to learn and works the way you work. Shepherd automatically updates the medical records, adds services to the invoice, generates discard instructions, and so much more. It's time to bring home more stories and less stress. Learn more today at www.shepherd.vet. Recruiting team members in your veterinary practice has never been this hard. You can either bury your head in the sand and hope it goes away or adapt. Enter Guardian Vets. By leveraging best-in-class technology, you can empower your staff and reduce their workload. Help reduce burnout. You also provide a better experience for your clients and patients, which you want to do as you serve them. The solutions Guardian Vets offers includes after-hours triage, virtual CSRs, that know your team and processes, telemedicine, and so much more. Become the employer of choice in your area by offering the best tools to position your team for success. Whether you're starting a de novo, clinic, multi-doctor, or multi-location, Guardian Vets can help you be more efficient and effective. Go to their website, guardianvets.com, click the Get Started button, then let them know that I sent you, right? Let them know the Vet Success Podcast sent you. Get 50% off your first month. Don't let another quarter or year happen before you start making changes, because you know you need to. So talk to the Guardian Vets team today and implement a new solution. All right. So today I am rejoined by Dr. Lauren Jones, and she first joined me about a year ago on episode 190, which was her first podcast. She's now done tons of content. She's seasoned pro. We'll probably be, dropping a show before too long. So for like her background and kind of the story, I would highlight people check out 190, go back there, listen to that episode, then come right back to this one, listen to this one. But, she's talked about lots of different topics within veterinary medicine on other shows that are great as well. So, check out those. She owns the Animal Hospital of Chester County, Director of Veterinary Medicine for Shepherd Veterinary Software. Lauren, thanks for rejoining me.
Hey, thank you so much for letting me back on the show. Had so much fun last time. I'm looking forward to it again. I appreciate it.
I always love having people that have never done a podcast come on, because I know like, hey, this is a voice that someone hasn't heard before. It's not the same stories. It's all the same stuff. So love to be able to do that. And yeah, you did awesome. And you were like, hey, was that okay? I was like, oh, that was like really, really great. So fantastic. And it was well received. Like, a lot of people enjoyed it. But what's changed? You have a new role at Shepherd, doing some different things. So just kind of, I guess, from a year ago, what are some updates or things going on in your world?
Yeah, so I'm now the Director of Veterinary Medicine at Shepherd, which really means that I'm taking on a lot more roles like this. Still, getting out there in front of people. My passion really still lies with fighting burnout, finding those ways to streamline our day-to-days, those efficiencies, and talking about things that really mean a lot to us as veterinarians and also our clients. And wanting to fight all of these issues that we're seeing in vet med, and from burnout to to just all the stresses that we see. And one of the things we want to talk about today is the rising costs of veterinary care and what we can do to combat that, and also help our clients, and the end goal being to get better patient care, right? So that's kind of what I'm doing. A lot of really fun stuff, meeting awesome people like you, but just trying to be a voice for not only Shepherd, but for veterinarians as well.
Yeah. And I think similar to like Cindy and the founding of Shepherd, right? Like being in the seat, doing the stuff is a different role than like, hey, Isaiah works for Shepherd or works for whatever PIMS, right? Telling you why this software is so great. It's like, well, I've never done it. And so it feels a little disingenuous sometimes when you've never sat in the seat and done it. So I think that is huge, and congrats on the new role. And that's super exciting. I know you were just at AVMA, right about a month ago. I always ask, and it's important, right? What was the vibe check? And then any large takeaways, conversations, not that you need to like get into, so and so said, but just was there anything interesting that came out of that? Because I know you're at, Shepherd's at a lot of conferences. There are a lot of things that are going on, but anything noteworthy that you would report back on?
I loved being at AVMA. Really, it was a great networking opportunity for me. I think the vibe. Oh man, I don't know. I saw the keynote there with the Magic Johnson. Were you able to attend? Did you see that?
I was not at AVMA, so I
Okay.
know nothing. So this is completely selfish for me just to hear what your insights are.
That was so the keynote was great with Magic Johnson, and really just talking about how we did talk that that keynote talked about burnout and some of the things that we can do better as veterinarians. I think it was a great few days, very upbeat, fun, but really kicked off by that by Magic Johnson. I'm a Magic fan, so it was kind of cool to see.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, they always say never meet your heroes. Did you get a chance? Like, did you actually meet him? Was it just listening? Like, have you ever met this celebrity that you've like, or someone that you've like really thought highly of, and it either met expectations or was like, oh, that person, not that
Oh,
great?
I tried so hard. I was watching him afterwards and I was like, where's he going? And so I went back and there was a group lining up for like a meet and greet. And so I got in line and I got right up there and they were like, where's your ticket? I didn't know there was a ticketed event. I thought it was kind of a.
Hey, good. Yeah. The answer's always no if you don't ask. So you tried,
That's right.
right?
I did. I tried.
So you talked about it a little bit in chatting through Shepherd, but like the cost of veterinary medicine, which is interesting because going back, it's been a number of episodes, had different conversations with different people that have different opinions on it. But there was a really interesting article, I guess, I guess depends on who it is, right? From the Atlantic. There's been a couple other articles that have come out as well, talking about cost of veterinary medicine. Like I saw the one like, hey, the reason your vet bills are high is because private equity's here. And, people that have strong opinions that write these pieces, again, you have to understand these pieces are there to generate emotion, clicks, sponsorship ads, all that other stuff, right? But talk through, especially the Atlantic one. And I know you mentioned that a lot of your peers were frustrated and kind of like ticked off because, as you and I know, right, all the veterinarians get into this to be, high rollers and make all the money in the world. Like I say that in jest. That is not what vet med is. But when it gets presented that way to the public that maybe doesn't have the same appreciation of like what actually is going on, you get painted as, like this just money hungry industry.
Oh, exactly. And that's really where, our industry, the Atlantic, I don't want to just come across, super aggressive with it. They do raise some points that are accurate, of course, but it also really paints our industry in a bad light, a negative light, especially kind of, reading that Atlantic and talking about corporate owned or private equity investments, and the vets there are still amazing, incredible vets who have, kind of came off like, oh, they're just money grubbing. They're just trying to push their bottom line. And I've never once known a vet, corporate and, privately owned associate, whatever the case, I've never known a vet who got into this for the money, to your point. I think it's our job to offer everything that we can, and then work backwards from there. Say, hey, here's the gold standard, the platinum plan. If we did everything we could, here's what it would be. And then if that doesn't fit in the budget, then we work backwards, right? But that doesn't mean we're money hungry. We're not money grubbing. But it really raises a big issue in veterinary medicine right now. And it's complex, right? There's so many moving factors, so many issues that are going into it. And it almost feels like it happened so fast that we weren't able to step back and also explain it to our clients. So we are at fault a little bit for that, for maybe not advocating for ourselves as much and being, but it all happens so fast, so complex, and it's hard to have those conversations. But I think that's why it is important to start talking to everyone and talking to our peers and coming up with, things like this to say, hey, here are some tips on how you can, reset the narrative to your own clients and to our staff. My own staff at my hospital sometimes is, why, if that product cost us $10, why are we charging it, at 75? And so it is sometimes not intuitive, and we have to sit back and explain it to them and say, well, here's the reasons that go into that. And it's not just because it took you 10 minutes. It's because it took you 20 years to perfect it. So you can do that in 10 minutes. All the things that go into it. That's just one little piece.
Well, I would be curious from my lens, you can blame a lot of different people on why costs of things go up, but it's like, what's the actual root cause? And it's more than just veterinary medicine. It's more than just, the grocery store being, oh, they make so much money. It's like, no, grocery stores have like a margin that's like sub like 2%. Like they make no money on stuff. It's all a volume game, but it's easy to point and say, this is the issue. These people are charging something. And at the end of the day, you either have someone that is able to be profitable and have a business that can sustain itself, or it is no longer viable and it will not open and be there for very long. And I think that is important. So what are some of the things when maybe it's what you've done in your hospital, what you've heard peers do, advice and guidance for having those conversations? Because there is a veterinarian that I talked to that it's friends, he's been on the show, that said, hey, for the first time in a long time, I'm having people push back on pricing. Like before, it was just like raise prices, no one cares, inflation's here, everyone gets it. And now it's like, why is it so darn expensive? And really starting to push back more.
It's a great question. For me, it's a two-part, right? It's why, and under having people, staff and clients understand the why behind why things are rising. And then also, okay, what can I do about it? I hate, you can talk to my staff. Don't come at me with a problem, like come at me with, here's my problem and here's what I think we should do about it. Or here's what can anybody do? And sometimes that's, I don't know. And, that doesn't have to be the only answer. So I don't mean to come off come off harsh, but I think the complexity is that there are, we've really seen pets are living longer, which is a great thing. But that means that over the course of their life, we're going to spend more on them. We're also seeing that pets, have moved from being backyard pets and backyard animals to family members sleeping in the bed with people, which means that they're also going to want to provide similar care that we see in the human field as well, and for human doctors and human medicine. Which means that we're doing better diagnostics. Our machines cost more, right? Before, I don't know, 40 years ago, I bet it, MRI machines, CTs, for pets really wasn't a thing. Your pet got cancer. Most likely they weren't going to be going through oncology or radiation. So I think that it's, we have acquired these new technologies, the latest medical equipment, which all come at a cost. Right. We all drug costs. I mean, I could just say for me across the board, I've seen it used to be every year was a 3 to 5% increase in my drugs and things. It really, since COVID, it's been 10, sometimes 30% costs from everything from drug costs to just keeping the lights on. And we have to pass those things on, so we do have to raise our care. So it's everything is everyone's charging us more. But it's also, we're providing better care and better medicine so that our pets can really live longer.
Yeah, I heard something interesting, and I don't know who said it, but it was on the human side that most of the healthcare expense in a human's life is in the last 3 years of their existence. And so it made me think of that on the animal side, like if they're living longer and they are thought of more like family. And again, I did a good episode on maybe why thinking as pets as the same as people is an issue. And that's in its own right with Dr. Jake Jensen, that some people had some issues and didn't like that episode, which I always like when people get kind of like borderline frustrated. Like, I don't like this framing. It's like, well, it probably was a good episode for you to listen to if you didn't like it because it challenges something. But that idea of like so much of the healthcare cost is at the end of life. And so it makes sense, same way in veterinary medicine, if they're living longer, it's going to be a lot more expensive. And so, yeah, it makes total sense. Again,
although I will say, I just got a couple kittens, and he ate one of my son. Here's one of them. Sorry, they might make an appearance. and he was 6 months old and ate a Nerf dart from my son. And it was $5,000 later in the emergency room for ultrasounds and monitoring and all of that. So I do agree with you mostly, but like, I kind of thought the same thing too. Well, I've got kittens, it'll be fine for a while. And then $5,000 later at the emergency room. But that's okay. I knew what I was up against, and he got this fantastic care, with monitoring, with registered nurses and doctors. And he got multiple ultrasounds. We didn't have to go cut him, but we thought we were going to. And, those things, they truly do, they're worth their weight, and he's home and healthy. And that's what it's all about, So even in the beginning of life too, these stinkers are
Yeah, there's going to be those situations, same way on the human side as well. And going back to drug prices 3 to 5% now, all of a sudden it's exploded since COVID. Again, I know this is not necessarily like the financial podcast. I'm not going to like take us off the rails with my ranting and raving on like the money printing thing. But when you create 40% of the money supply that's ever existed in a short time frame, the ramifications are what we've seen. That's why we have inflation. And so what I would love for like the Atlantic or the New York Times or whatever publication, like figure out what the root cause is instead of blaming different industries, because they're just reacting to the signal, right? The monetary supply and the money that comes into the system, you have to react to that, right? That's the signal. That's the signal for people to do something. And so each business is going to have to react. And at the end of the day, who pays for it? Consumers. We do.
Yep. Yeah.
And if you're a business owner and you
That's a
work
great
in a
point.
business, you got to do what you got to do to survive. So yeah, I would love to read those articles. And it's not just vet med. I'm sure they write those things about lots of other places, but I think from a veterinary perspective, you take it so personally because just the nature of the role. It's like, that's not why I'm doing it. Like, I really do care. And now these people are painting me out to be a villain. And it is frustrating because in your heart of hearts, that's not true.
Oh, absolutely. And I think the hard part for us that really, does roll into, why there's so much burnout in the industry is that we have people who come in and maybe instead of talking about, and I understand it's difficult when clients come in and they're hit with this big bill that they weren't ready for. I totally get that. I empathize with that. But maybe they felt too embarrassed or whatever the reason to kind of talk through and say, okay, well, what are some other options? Or I can't afford that. Those are hard things to say when we love our pets so much. It's really hard to say, well, I can't afford that. But then they go home and then they go to, Google and they give 1-star reviews, that all that the vet cared about was money. And if you truly love this, then you would, you would do it for free. And that just isn't, it unfortunately isn't the case. And we're really seeing a shift in veterinary medicine, not only from how our clients are perceiving from the backyard to the family pet, but for veterinarians as well. We're the, James Harriet's and the Dr. Poles and, all of those that, might not be, the trying to choose my words carefully, but, not the best medicine. It can be, it's just a different time where we don't just throw Band-Aids at animals anymore. We don't just go, oh, not sure what's wrong. Here's some pred. We really can walk through. It is just a different medicine that is really on par with our human doctor counterparts. And I think that's hard for people to see, all of the things online or, why can't you just do it for free like my old vet used to? And not realizing everything that goes into that and that I can run higher margins if it's just me. If I just go out there and I don't have any of these diagnostics and I just, here's, some drugs and this and that. I think that we just need to explain the differences and really what we're doing. But then along those lines, so if we explain everything and not only why things cost what they cost, but then giving people options. And that's where I really find I kind of a groove with using a combination of my Shepherd software. So we are super streamlined, efficient, and intuitive. And if we can streamline our practices, we can really, become the most kind of efficient monsters. And we can charge, appropriately still, but less, right? So if it takes me, just to try to become as efficient as possible, but also partnering with different financial interests, whether it's Care Credit. We use Sunbit. I love Sunbit, which really brings an affordability to vet care for our clients. And so it's talking about these options. So it's not just, yep, I know it's expensive, shucks. It's yes, and here's why it's expensive. And let's talk about how you're going to budget for your new kitten who might eat a Nerf dart. It's talking about budgeting for preventative care, whether that's wellness plans. I think are a great thing that can really, wellness care is one of the biggest things we can do for our pets to keep them healthy longer. But so often, especially when we get into economic crisis, that people stop coming to us as vets for vaccines and wellness care, and they only come to us when there's a problem, which, as a lot of us know, is, sometimes it's too late. Sometimes our pets don't show us how sick they are until it is pretty progressed. But we can, really push on, preventative care to get them in and find these diseases and issues early, and then budget for it as well going forward. So it's things like Sunbit. Insurance is huge. Only 3% of clients or pets in the States have pet insurance. That number is so low, but it's something that I think, there's a lot of issues about insurance as well. It's not perfect by any means. But it can really help. It takes that stress off people in those emotional times if your pet is at the emergency room and they're sick and, oh my gosh, it's going to be that $5,000 bill. And I was able to say, yeah, I know that's okay. That is scary, but I want what's best for my kitten. He's got health insurance or he's got pet insurance. So it really takes that stress off clients and also off their pocketbook too, because they don't have to pay for as much, especially the big ticket items. So those are kind of my go-tos when I talk to my clients about what can we do to make this better, right? To help our pets be healthy and not suffer, especially as they do get older.
Have you seen in conversations or even just in your own hospital, the starting to be the slowdown? Because like there's this talk, right? Like the American consumers tapped out, right? They don't have enough, credit card debt's high, this or that, like all these different things. Are you seeing people starting to come in less for routine like wellness stuff and only? And I know it's going to be very regional dependent, which makes it tricky, right? Because you're like, hey, yeah, in PA it's this way, and in Arizona it's this way, in Indiana it's this way. So it's going to be unique, and I know everyone's going to see it differently. But has it changed from what it has been over the last number of years?
Absolutely. Yeah, I think some places that, like you said, there are still pockets where they're crazy and they cannot book or they can't get a same day appointment in and they're booked out for weeks. I would say for me personally, we have seen a slowdown, especially in the preventative care field. So, again, people, I think it's also coincide with when people are going back into the office, because COVID was something, not only did we get all these people who got pets, and pets that were used to people being around 24/7. So that kind of bred its own set of anxiety issues and, that type of thing. But when I'm at home and my dog is sitting here and its ears are smelly and they're infected and he's scratching, I'm just trying to be on a call. That's, I think we used to, people were getting their pets into us a lot more because it was affecting their day-to-day life as well. Now, if the workforce is going more back out, they're not around their pets as much. I think that's just one very small factor, but it's not as in their face. And also, we just are seeing people not spending the money on pet care as much. So I think there's a lot of factors there for sure.
I know that you, just like lots of others, right, are connected to community within veterinary medicine, and kind of going off that conversation earlier on the cost and kind of the vet mom group. I know you kind of had reached out to them on just different topics, and I would be curious, what is, and I know I used this term earlier, what is the sentiment or the vibe or the things that have been like, hey, this is a success, like these are things going well? Because I think social media has the power to bring people together and make awesome connections, like us meeting and being able to get to know each other. But then it also can be a spot where you just pile on and complain, and it can actually exacerbate an issue where you're like, oh my gosh, this again. And it just like piles on, piles on, piles on. I do think vet med is susceptible to the negativity. And I've heard that from more than one person, especially with online groups. So that's a very long lead in to just say, like, what are your thoughts around some of that with business and family and time and money and stress levels? Where are people at?
I love the vet mom group, and they helped me out because I asked a question in preparation for coming on and talking about the Atlantic article and all of that. There's also another one out there, by the New York Times, that the mom group is just amazing. And there's such a wealth of knowledge, and really getting all kinds of information, not just one perspective. I think on that one post had like almost 80 different, long, thoughtful comments. And I would say, every group will have a little bit of that negativity, but I would say this one in particular is so strong, even though I think there are 19,000 across the globe. So it's a big group, but it is rare for me to see people getting, snarky or negative in that group. It's really a very supportive group of women. And they were great with talking about this too, because I think not only in that the burnout fatigue that we feel as veterinarians in general, the moms, we have that mom guilt too, right? And I know you're a parent as well, but that guilt of, man, my clients are expecting me to be available and put 200% of the time, give 200% of myself, but man, so does my family, and really seeing that shift, and again, that's another one of these complex issues that we're not the old school vets anymore, who, not throwing any shade on old school vets, I was mentored by some, old school vets. So I kind of have that like MacGyver medicine too, which is great. But, the mom groups, you can see all of these different perspectives and supporting each other and saying, no, I had to set boundaries with my clients. I can't be available 200% of the time. Or no, this is what I do to help my clients out when we're, in a having financial issues. And I actually spoke to Dr. Rena Carlson, who's the AVMA president. And so kind of through this, I even learned, in preparation of talking to you, I learned that the AVMA has a fund. It's called the AVMF Reach program, which really is a bunch of grants that veterinarians over, all of the AVMA members, which I would guess most veterinarians here in the United States are. It's a program to help them with grants to help provide financial help and support in vulnerable communities. So learning about stuff like that, and just this the mom group being so, oh my gosh, thank you for going on this podcast with Isaiah and talking about this. This is so important to us. Here are some things that that I've seen in my day to day, and it's just a really cool thing to be part of. And I love the group, but I'm kind of sad that our male counterparts aren't allowed in it. Because it's just so. It's a really cool way to connect with other veterinarians across the country and globe, really.
So I think that's a good point on the tail end on the male counterparts. What do you think that they wouldn't appreciate that's been discussed within the group? And again, having two young boys and seeing how they react to me, and there's certain situations where they want me, but a lot of times they want their mom, and my wife works, and it's not the same stress level and responsibility of being a practice owner. And, she works for an employer, but still, like, I think there is that guilt of, if someone is sick or not feeling well in their home and it's like trying to balance stuff, it typically falls more on her shoulders than mine. And we get that. And I try to help, but I know at the end of the day, if someone wants held or someone next to them, it's going to be mom over Isaiah. And I get that. And that's normal. And like that changes over time, but the life stage we're in right now, it does fall on her. And it's a lot. And you can get to the point where, again, communicate with her, hey, I'm touched out. Like I am overstimulated. Like I just need nothing for a little bit. Just give me some rest. So yeah, I think that's what I've understood, or I guess appreciate a lot more from my perspective.
Well, and I think the dads, certainly, there's all the stereotypical, oh, he doesn't do this or that, and he's not helping. But I think that the vast majority, that's not the case, and I think what I get out of the group is so valuable, and to find ways to communicate better with my partner, to, like, I don't think before I had kids, I ever knew really what it meant to be like, oh, I'm touched out. That's hot, like I just need to, and so it's through that group where I go, oh, that is a great way that I can communicate with my partner. Because it's not just about vet med, there's a ton of personal stuff in there too. And how do we juggle this? How do we juggle the kids with work and all of this? And I your question about, what the male vets who aren't, seeing this, it's just a wealth of information that I feel sad that they don't have access to, because it has helped me in my own personal life in so many different ways, whether it's, stuff like this, getting different opinions, or, hey, what are we buying for Prime Day? And, the silly things like that, but really it's the how do we communicate? How are we, my goal is just to continue my personal goal is to be the best vet I can be, to do everything I can to help as many patients out, and to always be growing and evolving and changing. And that really applies to my personal life too. The person I was, the wife I was, the mom I was 10 years ago isn't who I am today. And I'm proud of that. And that change is hard and it takes growth. Um, and really just having that support system of all of these women who are beautiful and know the business and they know what it's like to be a mom, or especially, ones who are struggling going through, divorce, or they're a single parent, and having this support system, because that's really what it is. I think it's really, really special.
Yeah. I think the idea of, I have so much more respect for people that have built businesses or run businesses that are single parents or go through those, the divorce thing. Cause even when things are good, like at home, it still can be really challenging from a work perspective to build something or run something or be responsible for, other people's paychecks, and that can wear on you. And even if things are in a perfect scenario at home, a lot of times those people that you love and say you care about the most don't always get your best, because you try to do that at work to, clients and patients and the team, and you're like, oh my gosh, then you're just exhausted by the end of the day, and it's tricky. So
It's being a parent's tough, running your business and doing all your thing, everything. It's really tough. And having that support system of, like I said, of this group, but also, just your work team. My team at Shepherd is fantastic. My team at the animal hospital is amazing. And it's building that, it's the silly, it takes a village, but it really, really does. I need all of these different people to be the best that I can, to, be the best mom and parents and, employee, vet, all of those things. It really just does take that village.
and then from the group, I mean, how much from so you have the family and work, like, do you feel like there needs to be like that third element of an outside hobby, other friends that are non-veterinary? Like, what are some of the other things that they do to continue or to try to find as much balance? Because I don't love the work-life balance thing. Someone else made a really good comment about it a long time ago to me, where I was like, yeah, you kind of need the integration, because you can't parse those two things out. Like, they just are going to be so intermingled and messy. But is there a third for you and or for the group? Have they found like, yeah, for me, it's like working out, or this group that I go to CrossFit with, or whatever they do to kind of balance the other things in their life as
So
much
it's
as
not so
possible?
vet med, you mean?
Yeah. So it's
Yeah.
not home or vet med, and like those two dominate. Like a third thing, a hobby, something for, it sounds selfish, but like for themselves in some sort of
Yeah.
rhyme
Oh,
or
not selfish at
reason.
all. Absolutely. I think that is so important. It's, that we are intentional about taking time, and saying, you know, whether, and if it is at work, it's, I'm going to use the bathroom at noon, because that doesn't happen all the time. Take an intentional walk around the block, take an intentional lunch break, setting those things up. But then you're absolutely right. It's in our personal lives as well. And I usually, when I have these conversations with people, I say, make a list of things that make you happy. Because, or else I know for me, if I don't make a list and then commit to saying, okay, well, I'm going to do one of these things in the next month, or whatever that is, 3 of them, because they could be, they're different, right? It's like, for me, I want to go horseback riding. I want to read more books. I want to get back out on my kayak. I haven't kayaked in a year. And I put it on a list, and then I say, kind of pick one. I'm going to do one of these and have an actionable end goal, by this time. And if I don't do that, I know I'm going to sit down on my couch. I'm going to watch, Bridgerton, and maybe watch, pull my TikTok out, listen, and just kind of veg out. So I think it's just really being intentional about that, because it is so good for me as a human, to reset, recharge, is finding those things that I love, the passions, the outside of vet med, because it is so intertwined with who we are. I've wanted to be a vet since I was 6 years old. So it really, you need to, like, almost like, for me at least, I have to kind of push myself to go, I know I love doing these things. I'm going to be intentional about doing it. And one of the things I love about the mom group is that they recognize stuff like that too. And so they've set up, I'm in a book club, which I still am trying to get to, but it's, so we're going to go meet. I read the books, but then there's always something, I'm traveling or whatever. But I love to read. It's finding a hobby and then meeting up and talking about people. It's a little less scary, because, maybe you haven't met these people in person, but they're coming from the same group, and you have vet med and moms and parenting as kind of already a baseline of things to talk about. So, I love that they do that. The Vet Mom group also does they do a cruise continuing education thing every year. So, you can not just vets go, but their families go. So you can still meet other people, get to go do, different things in new locations. I think it's so important for our mental health.
You talked about the like kayaking or doing different things versus the vegging out, like the TikTok or the Netflix or whatever. Really good episode about this. The upward spiral. Dr. Van Dynes Snell talked about that. So it's 231, and she kind of, and again, for me, it's like I remember her talking about that of like instead of vegging out, the active recovery, because you actually feel better after it because you like these things, but these things are good for just the way your body is, even if it is like working out. Is that recovering? Well, it's different, but it's movement and it's these things versus just the whew type thing. So I had to look up. I was like, I know what episode number, so I had to look real quick. But
I'll have to check
that
that out because
yeah,
it's so important.
it is. It's just connecting some of the different conversations and threading them together, which I think is similar to the group. Like the way the podcast has been structured for me is like you just hear different pieces, and it's like, oh yeah, all these things kind of coalesce and come together, and can be really really powerful. So awesome. Anything else from the group that you want to highlight? Give a shout out, throw
No, I
anything?
don't. No, just thank you to all of those amazing women. I really appreciate being a part of it and getting to pick their brains whenever something comes up. So just a shout out and of love and appreciation.
Awesome. So I'm gonna allow you to give me your best shill for Shepherd on the latest and greatest thing that has you excited, whether it's something that's upcoming, if you want to give us like some free alpha of like something new or a feature that has come out recently.
Oh, I love it. I would say the one I'm most excited about, and I'm sure, there's so much talk in the industry about AI, but this one is just so cool. And what I love about Shepherd is that, like I mentioned before, we're really into, our goal is to make it efficient and streamline the workflow. So I always tell my staff, get in, get out, get home. And that's really what we want to do. So anything we can do as a company to make it better, to make the lives of vets better, and ultimately better patient care, we're all for. So we're working on, we've released them, but they're still in like more beta stages, but they're released, two different AI. Our first one is a diagnosis AI, which is just so cool. So you go into your soap and you're filling out your medical record and you can click a button. I think it's great for everyone, but really I see it working really well for new vets, maybe vets who are on their own. They don't have that group mentality. There's no other vet there to kind of bounce ideas off of. But you can say it'll pull information, the patient signalment, and it'll say, hey, here are some diagnoses that are possible. I can say, I forget the dose of that medication. What is that? And it'll say, hey, this is the general dose. I mean, obviously it's not a veterinarian, it's not performing the medicine, but just pulling from reputable resources to say to help us. So I don't have to go pull out, an old dusty, textbook. I can ask it questions and what would some other things be? Or it's when you hear hoofbeats, you think about horses, right? Sometimes we got to think about zebras too in these odd cases. So I love it. So I can say, hey, what am I missing with this? Oh, right, autoimmune. Cool. Yes, put that on my differential list. So that one has been out for a little bit. I think it's just really helpful, can really elevate our medicine. The second feature along AI is similar to, so it's a transcription AI. So it's similar to Scribe Vet, Scribble Vet, which I think are really great products as well. But this is directly in our software. So it's going to say, I can just start talking to it and it's going to pick out the pieces and put it in the different parts of the soap. Okay, well, here's the plan. I'll put that in the plan section. The physical exam note, the TPR is going to go under the vitals, just by one click. And then it puts it wherever you want to go. You can edit if you need to, but I've been playing with it. It's actually pretty spot on already. So those are the two things I'm the most excited about that I think can really make an impact on our clinic's efficiency.
Yep, love it. And I feel like AI is so buzzwordy, and it's like, okay, what does it actually mean? So it's always good to have like, this is how it actually functionally works for this specific use case, and how it can make you again more efficient, get home sooner, like all that stuff. So that's great. So appreciate that. I did this before, but we can do it again as well. Any questions for me? I've just been kind of asking you different things. Anything top of mind? Things you want to discuss? Questions that are there? If not, I'll leave this in, but we can always edit out a section if you don't have a
No,
question.
it is, I had been doing some of the the Bitcoin. I forget that, like the the series that you have sent out. Is there anything
Sure.
new in
Yeah.
Bitcoin? And I mean, I'm
Always
not.
something new in Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is. It's one of those things that is, I appreciate what
Yeah.
you did because it's so hard for me to wrap my brain around it. But I'm always trying to learn more.
Sure. So I'll give you just kind of an example of the progression of where things are. So this is going to come out. So we're recording this on Friday, July 19th. This will come out Sunday on the 21st. So the guys that edit it will turn it on really quick. So when you're listening to this, I'm probably going to be in Nashville. And if you listen to this way, way, way later, I was in Nashville. So Nashville for Bitcoin 2024. So Bitcoin 2022, there was this little president from a Latin American country called El Salvador saying, hey, we're going to make Bitcoin legal tender. All right, cool. The Bitcoin nerds like Isaiah think that's big, but everyone else is like, El Salvador, never heard of it. Who cares? Whatever. And then last year, Bitcoin 2023, you have RFK Jr., who is this like fringe, kind of strange guy, right? Interesting. I find RFK very interesting. Fringe candidate, never going to be a president. And he was talking pro Bitcoin, was a speaker. Now, polarizing, a lot of people don't like him, right? Donald Trump's going to be in Nashville talking about the Bitcoin platform that the Republican National Convention and like the Republicans are putting out there. So again, this is not political. I always joke with people if the opposite person, right? So the counterpoint, if AOC wants to talk pro Bitcoin, I might not like a lot of other things that she says, right? Just like I might not like a lot of things that Trump says. Pro Bitcoin, I'm there. I'll listen. I want to hear it, right? Because people are like, oh, Bitcoin doesn't need politicians, and you don't want them pandering. I'm like, if Bitcoin's going to be successful, of course, at some point they're going to pander to this industry and to this voting block of people that have said this is really important. So I think the progression from small, unknown Latin American country to likely the next president of the United States, which is the most powerful country in the world, talking about Bitcoin, that it's called like the Overton window, right? The shift of that narrative cannot be understated. So when people are like, "Oh yeah, that Bitcoin thing's not like real. I'm not going to pay attention to it," all I'm going to say is, "Well, I've been talking about it since 2020. You might want to start paying attention like soonish." And it's not you need to be the crazy Bitcoin person like me. That's cool. That's fine. You don't need to. But I think you should at least explore it and try to understand it better because it's not going anywhere. And it's meaningful. And I'm not going to be shy saying that it's akin to the internet, electricity, fire, the combustion engine. Like that's how big of a deal this will be. So pay attention to it. Yeah. So that's what's going on. So we'll see, right? We'll see what's said. There's lots of rumors, and a lot of those are always like, overblown, where people want to be like breaking news. Like this is the thing. It's like, well, we'll see what actually said. And again, don't get your hopes up on politicians. I think any politician is going to say one thing and they get elected, and it's like, oh yeah.
Exactly.
So
Just kidding.
let's not put the cart before the horse here. But just the amount of conversation around the topic is continuing to shift. And so, like, what's the next 4 years look like when the next presidential election comes around? Which will have to, by default, be a new option, so not two people that have already been president. And we'll see, because I think it's going to be a bigger and bigger deal. So yeah, Bitcoin is here to stay. So what's I'll ask you one last question on that, since you opened the can of worms, and shame on you're gonna be like, oh my gosh. And what's the biggest question that you have when it comes to Bitcoin, just in general? Like, is it what is this thing? What does it actually do? Is there anything that you can point to that you're like, this is the confusing aspect of it?
Yeah, I guess. I mean, this feels very silly, but that's part of, I talked about wanting to always grow, and this is a little like vulnerable, but like, I just don't, I struggle with understanding how it is the same as like the money that I put in my purse. You know what I mean? Like I think I really struggle with, kind of making it on the same level and just really understanding it. I feel like I know enough to understand that it is, it's important to know about, and it's coming, and I need to learn more, but that's where I struggle wrapping my brain.
It's like when people say AI and they're like, well, what the hell does that mean?
Yes.
The
You're like,
buzzword,
Bitcoins,
but like, what does it actually mean?
yeah.
We got AI on the block notes. It's so when you think about money, I think this is a conversation or a question that people should ask, is like, what the heck is money? At the end of the day, money is it's the signal. We talked about it earlier, right? Like when the drug companies, these other things, it is literally the signal that informs the economy to make decisions. And it is the most liquid, tradable good. So what money does is it allows us to store our energy or our output in something that then we can exchange later on for something else. That way I don't have to perform my own veterinary care. You don't have to grow your own apples. You don't have to, sew your own clothes, right? And if you want to do those things, great. And maybe you're going to be really proficient at it, but you are allowed to then store selling those apples in money So it eliminates that, if depending on when you need something, it's like there's a really fancy, smart sounding term that I can't remember all of a sudden in my mind, but money allows for you to store that economic energy or output in something. And so it's important that if you have money, you shouldn't then have to always take it and it just be created at, nauseum for free. And so I hinted on that earlier with, if we create a ton of extra money, well, what that does to Lauren's bank account and Isaiah's bank account is that it devalues all that saving, all that deferred consumption. When we said, hey, we were going to be responsible, we're not going to max out our credit cards and do all this stuff. We want to try to do what's right and save because we don't know what the future holds. So when you think about like what is money, it should be something that is recognizable. It should be, something that's fungible. So like your money's not different than my money, so we can all trade it. It needs to be divisible, so we can have it in different units. It needs to be portable, so we can send it around, and like all these different characteristics of money. And if you look at gold, you look at current like fiat currency or dollars, and then Bitcoin, all those key kind of characteristics of money, Bitcoin checks more of the boxes. The one thing that it doesn't check, some people would say it's a negative, it's not state issued. It's not issued from a government, right? But if you go back in history, a lot of money wasn't really state issued. Sure, they had gold coins, but they didn't make the gold, right? They stamped a face on it, and Isaiah, King Isaiah thought it was cool to put his face on it, but it wasn't like they created the gold itself. And so fiat currency, or the current dollar today, it's backed by nothing and is purely created by government entities. Well, at some point, it's going to fall to the cost of marginal production, which is zero. It costs them $0 to make the money today. And so you work your tail off. You spend all this time away from your friends and family to make money that then can be created out of nothing. And you start to question like, okay, is that good money? But we all know that we have to take that money that we earn and invest it or do something with it, put the money to work. Well, you already work 60 hours a week, but you got to put the money to work again, right? And so what Bitcoin is like it's going through the process of becoming money. And it's a slower process than what people might think. It doesn't go from nothing to money overnight. It was a collectible for kind of nerds on the internet back in 2010, 2011. I wish I was one of those nerds, right? I wish I would have found it in 2011. But then it becomes a store of value. And so today it's a store of value, meaning we take the dollars that we earn and we say, where can we best store this for future consumption? Buy me more stuff. I want to buy more house, more veterinary clinics, more, kids' college tuition, more healthcare, whatever. Where do I store it? You have stocks, you have real estate, you have precious metals, small businesses, equity in companies, all these different things. Well, Bitcoin's been one of the best performing assets the last 11 out of 14 years, right? Number one, the 3 years it wasn't, it was the worst. So it's been a really good store of value and it will continue to be a store of value for a while. Once people decide it's a really good store of value, you're going to say, hey, I'm a veterinary clinic owner. I want Bitcoin for my services. I don't want the stuff that they can create for free. I'm going to start accepting it. So once you know that it's a good money and a good store of value, then it becomes a medium of exchange and becomes money itself, which medium of exchange, that's when the guy that comes to put on a new roof in my house, he'll say, I'll take Bitcoin. It's better than dollars. But if I ask him today, he probably thinks it's a scam or it's a Ponzi or something like that because it hasn't been a store of value long enough. And once he's aware of it, and maybe he already is, that's how it comes. So it's a progression along that line of then it feels like the same money that you have in your pocket today. But
you're right. You're right. It does feel like scammy or like something, like it feels like that.
And I think for a lot of people, they equate broader crypto with Bitcoin. And I think those two things need to be distinguished very, very hard. And I think it's important to understand like Bitcoin is just trying to be digital money and be the money of the world. And it will be at some point. I feel very confident saying that. I'm not shy about it. I think the dollar dies, Bitcoin becomes money. That's why it's important. There's a lot of other cryptocurrencies, 8,000, 10,000, these different random, really pieces of garbage that are not Bitcoin, but people will say crypto and bunch them all together. So
that makes sense.
Bitcoin is just trying to be money, and every human needs money because again, it's the most liquid, tradable thing in the world. So if every human needs money, an upgrade to money is a huge deal. That's why I say the things that I do. It does help that like people will say, well, you only want it because it's going up in value and then you'll sell it and then you'll get more dollars. And like, that's the only reason you want it, Isaiah, because it just goes up in value. It's like, well, that helps, but it also buys me the things that I want, more of the things that I want. So house in the United States, last 5 years has gone up $100,000, median house. Well, it's gone down 70% in Bitcoin terms over 5 years. Now, again, Bitcoin's done really well, all these other things, but if you save in Bitcoin, it makes life more affordable. If you save in dollars, life gets more expensive. So you can choose which path you want to take, and it's not an all or nothing. You can use both. I'm not giving you the either or, but yeah, it's interesting. And I think more and more people in the next 5 years will adopt more Bitcoin, and then we'll see what the political winds have to say about it. But we've been in an administration the last 4 years that's been pretty anti, and so if there's an administration that's just neutral or positive, I think that is just, it's either fuel on the fire or it's trying to put a little bit more water on it. But yeah, so that's what's new in Bitcoin. Or question.
Thank you.
It's a lot, but there are really, really good resources. And I've told anyone that ever listens, like if they want to reach out, I'll send you like good resources, good things to learn. You should ask questions. You should come at it being skeptical. You should say, hey, I don't believe that this is the right thing, and come at it that way. That's fine. And if you discover that you know for sure that it's going to be a farce, reach out to me, because it's better for me and my family if I realize that sooner rather than later. It really is. I just haven't found the rationale or the argument to make that case yet. So veterinary care gets cheaper on a Bitcoin standard, and I think that's really exciting.
There you go. Yeah. So then that rolls into everything that we first started talking about too.
It fixes a lot of these major issues. It doesn't fix everything. It doesn't fix the human condition of us being broken and fallen people, but it fixes a lot of other things, which is pretty cool. So got to get the alignment of incentives the correct way. So
absolutely.
For those interested in saying, hey, I have a PIMS. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. I want to learn more about Shepherd, or I want to connect with you and chat on anything that we chatted on today. How do they best reach you? Where would you send them? How do they connect?
Great question. So you can go, I can send you my LinkedIn profile. I've got a link tree with all of my content that I'm on. Shepherd, the website is on the first one on my link tree. And I can also, everyone can go to shepherd.vet to kind of take a look, schedule a demo, that type of thing. So I think those are the three big ones.
Kudos.
I love it.
You have everything. You'd be like, hey, go here and I have all my stuff. That's awesome. I think you're the first person that said that, and I think that's genius. So other people should just copy that.
Yeah, right. I like it.
It makes it easy. So I will make sure I have that in the show notes. You can click one link and it'll have all the stuff for Lauren to connect with her. But thank you so much for coming back on. This was a great conversation as always, and I appreciate your time.
Thank you. Same. It was wonderful. I really appreciate you.
All right. So there are a lot of great job postings that I want to get to. And so we're going to start off with Bayside Hospital for Animals. Great work-life balance in beautiful Fort Walton Beach, Florida. No weekends, Monday to Friday, 8 to 5, no on-call or emergencies. It's an appointment only here. Currently a 2.5 doctor practice, new owner in 2021, bringing some fresh life into the hospital. The new owner had been there for 6 years prior working, so definitely understands the team, the processes, and the community. Lots of investment in people and new equipment. ProSal is the pay structure. Far too many benefits for me to list. Email baysidevet251@yahoo or call 850-864-1857. Join a thriving, growing small animal practice in Vermont on the Quebec border. Full-time ideal, part-time is considered. The idea is to start with yes with the team, patients and clients in outdoorsman or outdoor woman's paradise while being able to practice high-quality medicine. Compensation is write your own structure within production capabilities. Literally, it is the owner wants to find the right person and is happy to negotiate, chat through, and find the right fit. If you want autonomy and a boss that enjoys teaching, reach out to Newport Veterinary Hospital. You can email newportveterinaryhospital@gmail.com. North Central Indiana, looking for an oasis in the chaos. Who isn't, right? Come join the amazing team at Fulton County Veterinary Clinic. They strive to foster a fun, fast-paced work environment while providing quality patient care. They utilize the support staff efficiently so that the doctor is available to practice medicine and do what you're trained to do in less time and paperwork, which is great. Lots of investment in new equipment and technology to support you, full-time or part-time available. Small animal and exotics are both seen there, so no ER. No on-call, no weekends, competitive salary with sign-on bonus offered, and far too many benefits to list. Go to Fulton County Veterinary Clinic. So type that in and you'll find the job posting there. Last but not least, join Watertown Animal Hospital. Personable, small animal veterinarian wanted for well-established current 5-doctor mixed animal practice in northern New York, which is an outdoors person's paradise. Again, 2 of those. So if you like the outdoors, you can look at Vermont or New York. They have plenty of support staff with 6 CSRs, 6 licensed technicians, 4 animal caretakers, 2 technical assistants, hospital assistant, a practice manager, and a bookkeeper. Focuses on mentorship and investment on the people and the technology. That's been a strategic initiative by the leadership team. No on-call, 24-hour ER less than an hour away. Salary based on experience, but no less than $95,000. Can be straight salary, pro sal considered. Want to discuss that with the right person. Tons of benefits. Again, too much to list. Please reach out to watertownpetcare.com for that option as well. So again, if you find a role or a job or talk to anyone and it helps you in any way, I would love to hear that feedback. So please reach out. Let me know what you're able to do. And I will continue to post these. So if you are an owner, reach out to me, let me know. And we'll go from there. And until I hit a capacity of I can't keep recording these, I want to let people know who are high quality owners around the country looking for great help. So with that, we'll talk soon.
Thanks for listening to today's show. The comments made on today's show should not be taken as investment, tax, or legal advice. All comments are for educational purposes only. You should talk to your professional team before implementing anything. If you want or need financial advice, my day job on Not Podcasting is helping veterinarians grow their net worth. Our team is taking new clients, and we are ready to talk to you at any stage of life. Come as you are. I always say bring the mess, right? Like if things are unorganized, that's okay. There's no prerequisites to become a client. Isaiah Douglas is a partner at Vincier Wealth Management. Isaiah is a registered investment advisor, registered with the SEC. The biggest compliment you can give me in the podcast is to share it with a friend. Reviews help the show get found, and Apple Podcast is the platform that is predominantly used for people listening to the show. If you have 3 minutes, love the show, head over to Apple Podcasts, give us an honest rating and review. It helps more people find the show. Also, the new YouTube channel is up, and I'd love to have you subscribe. Vainly, I want 100 subscribers at least. Lots more, obviously, right? But I get a vanity URL if we get to 100. That would be great. It makes it easier to find the YouTube channel as well. For all of today's links, information, head over to the veterinariansuccesspodcast.com. There you can subscribe to your favorite podcasting platform. It'll be a link to that YouTube channel I just talked about. You won't miss any other episodes, whether you list on Spotify, whether you have some other ancillary podcast platform. Please like, subscribe, all that stuff. It certainly does help. I appreciate it. Finally, if you want more information, insights, want your voice to be heard, want to share ideas for content, say, hey, Isaiah, I want you to have this guest. I want you to talk about this topic. Go over to the Facebook group. So you can search for the Veterinarian Success Podcast on Facebook or head over to veterinariansuccesspodcast.com, scroll to the bottom about your host, click on the Facebook icon, and that'll get you in the group. But thank you so much for listening. It means a lot to me to be able to see the podcast grow and continue to impact people. So with that, until next time, we'll chat soon.